Who in the industry does or did fake a lot of shit?
Oh, you're trying to get me to expose people out here.
Today I sit down with one of Australia's top content creators who has amassed a following of over 10 million followers across all platforms and turned it into a full-time income. We went so deep on all things content creation, where the world's at these days, how to get started and making perfect content so you can monetize it.
I wouldn't say I did it for the money, but I definitely did it for knowing where it could get me in terms of a career out of it.
We also went really deep into the dark side of social media and the whole fake culture that's inside of it.
Social media is just fake. Like, there's no point me actually trying to continue to do this where it's ruining my family life, my personal relationships.
He opened up about some pretty interesting times of almost being cancelled.
If we speak out against anything or even have an opinion that's different from the narrative at play in the media, we're gonna get cancelled, which means no career, no business, and no income.
He opened up about what really happens inside of the world of social media and who really is controlling some of these bigger influences in the world.
From that one story, I lost my partnership with...
What?
Bro, they can literally just like delete your page overnight with no reason.
And he opened up fully about his whole journey from where he was to then finding God and now on a brand new spiritual journey.
I found God. And this is something I'm very passionate about. I share my experiences and my thoughts about how, finding God's helped me in my life. And so I'm just sick of being silent, bro. Like, I'm sick of having this massive platform. I have, 10 million people that I can help.
This episode is really freaking cool. You guys are going to absolutely love it. And if you're brand new to this channel, make sure that you're subscribed because we put out content every single week to help you learn the skill set and the mindset to live your dream life. So without further ado, let's get into this interview. Help me welcome the one and only Mr. Jamie Zhu. My man, Jamie Zhu, welcome to the pod, my bro.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Mate, I've watched your stuff for quite a while, actually, like here and there, and it's rare to see someone in Australia crush it, I think, to any degree, and then especially here in the content game. So I want to focus this whole podcast kind of on I like to record these podcasts as like mini masterclasses almost. Mm-hmm. So when people watch this, they know what they're going to get from it, and they just get so much freaking value from it. And obviously one of the things that you kill it at, you've got over 10 million social media followers across all your platforms. You've been in the content creation game for ages. You've pretty much created your life by design, your dream life through content. So I want to talk about that. So firstly though, take us all back to what's the earliest thing I guess we would need to know so we can have a full context of who you are and how you came to be in this space.
Yeah, for sure, man. So long story short, I'm 30 now. I know I look a bit younger. But I started
93, baby.
93, yeah, correct.
Same, let's go.
Nice, good stuff. So I basically grew up in Sydney. I was part of a sort of Asian and European family, and during my youth, I actually wanted to be a professional soccer player. So I was doing that for about 9 years during high school, and then I kind of felt like it wasn't for me anymore at 19 years old, and then I decided to quit and then start social media. So this was back in about 2014 when I decided to start making videos, and during this time, there was no one really in Australia doing it. You could say like maybe 10 people or so were doing it. The likes of Janoskians or Adrian Van Ooyen or like those sorts of like early on people, if you remember them. I just got really inspired, man. So I just jumped into it. It took me about 2 years to actually get anywhere from social media. I didn't earn a single cent until my second year into it, or even third year. And then, things just kind of took off in 2017, and 10 years on, here we are.
Did you start it for a way? Did you start it being like, this is how I want to make money, or did you start it because it was fun? Or
So it was interesting because I was, as I said, playing like semi-pro soccer in the UK. And while I was over there, I realized that, I didn't think football was going to be the thing I wanted to do for the rest of my life, because although I sort of had some of the skills there, I think the longevity of it and also where my talents lay were elsewhere. So I kind of went into it completely blindsided. I just was, I decided to quit football, and I came across, these YouTubers in Australia doing these funny videos. And for some reason, man, like it just really resonated with me, like what they were doing. And I almost saw like a part of myself in them. So I decided to come back, and they kind of created the framework for me in terms of like what YouTube or social media could lead you towards. And this was so early, man. This was like 2014 days. So it was very, very, very untapped. And then I saw the success of the Janoskians, if you remember them.
No, I don't know.
They were like a group of like 5 guys from Melbourne just doing prank videos, and they blew up overseas. In fact, they shut down Times Square with like 7,000 fans back in 2011 or so, or 2013. So I kind of did see how social media could propel someone into a career. I wouldn't say I did it for the money, but I definitely did it for knowing where it could get me in terms of a career out of it, making content full time. And so you could say I had like somewhat of a plan.
So you started off all in the prank space, which I see that now, like, because I think my understanding of like YouTube creation, because I think one of the first people I used to follow was Vitaly. He's like the OG prankster.
OG, yeah.
And then so many other people came out, and they just got heaps fake and shit.
Yep.
How did you sort of transition through like all of that? And was it, because I see now, like, you see people like, who's that one that everyone fucking hates? Jackson Doherty. No, is that his name? The little kid,
yeah.
right?
Oh no, Jack Doherty.
Jack Doherty.
Jackson's,
so not Jackson. No, he's funny as. He's the Aussie, right?
He's a mate of mine,
Jack Doherty. Sorry, the young one.
Yeah.
He's sort of like, there's just this whole new age of just creating chaos on the internet, and it's kind of gone spastic. So tell me, how did you sort of, like, what was the sort of like going through all that? Because like, were you a natural born prankster, or was this sort of like I got to do this to sort of, because that's the part I need to play for social media, or how was it?
No, good question, man. So in short, no, I was definitely back then a naturally born sort of prankster comedian. The funny part was when I actually saw these people on social media do these videos that I got inspired by, it was almost like I was watching myself, because these were the things I used to do anyway. I kind of, you could say, like, found my comedic crazy side early on in high school, but I was never able to do much with it because social media wasn't really like too much of a thing back then, and I was always caught up with soccer. So at the very start, I was like very, very organic. So everything I did was 100% real, completely, you name it, like straight 180. I would go into like university lectures a couple of times a week, just make a fool out of myself. I would just do things in public, funny lines to people, like you name it. Like I was literally that guy.
What was the cringiest one you did? Well, I guess what was the hardest one you did that you were like, I know it's gonna fucking pop? What was that one?
It would have to be the sex noise at the Australian Open tennis back in 2018. Most likely.
Sex what?
Sex noise at the Australian Open tennis. Yeah, I don't know.
Find that real. We'll plug that right here.
That was sort of like definitely the ballsiest thing I've ever done. But yeah, all those things you could say, I mean, you can't fake those, right? You can't fake walking into a tennis match like with 50,000 people and doing a noise in front of an audience. That's not fake. However, to answer your question, during the time where people started to really blatantly fake their pranks, which was probably a couple years after I started, yeah, bro, it was hard, because how was I supposed to keep up with these, funny reactions from people just staging them, plus thinking about efficiency? Would I actually go out into the city for 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day to try and find that one reaction, or just get a mate to just, fake one? So it was always a question, but I did really stay true to doing things real at the very start. I think when my dad and I started making videos, that was where I didn't really have to do any of that fake stuff, because it was so organic and real. But then, yeah, 100%, like towards the end course of the pranks that I was doing, where I was kind of just fed up with the whole thing, the whole prank era had sort of died because of how fake things were. Yeah, I definitely did start to like fake my own stuff.
Who in the industry does or did fake a lot of shit?
Oh, you're trying to get me to expose people out here. Bro, everyone.
Everyone?
Like, there's not one.
Boys. They for me, I think they're like probably the truest.
Yeah, but like, you don't understand, bro. You don't understand.
Explain.
When you have a business that's based upon finding these crazy reactions, right? 6, 7, 8 times out of 10, you'll go out on the street and you won't find one good reaction. Then you get into legal trouble where you're like, you know what? If I overstep the line to try to get this reaction, I'm going to end up in jail. So that's what happened to Nelk. Yeah. I guarantee you, when you experience some sort of like legal repercussion from doing things too overboard, because in your mind, it's like, oh, now I've got to up it. That's why you see like people jumping off bridges into the ocean for views and doing crazy stuff where like you can die, or even on live streams, people are dying because they're doing these crazy things for views. Like, it never ends. So when you get to a point of like almost no return, and you kind of have like a taste of like, you know what, if I kept doing this and I kept sort of like trying to up the ante, I'm going to either end up in jail or die. Then you go, okay, is this really worth it? So then, for example, Nelk, I don't know factually because I don't know them personally, but I know for a fact that when they went to jail, that would have shocked them, because like I've never been to jail, but I can imagine how much of a wake up call that would be.
I think that's when Jesse,
Yeah.
that was
yeah,
his
yeah.
final thing.
Exactly. Perfect example, right?
Yeah.
So when you get to that point, you're like, you know what? Is it really worth it? And so then you go, well, like firstly efficiency, secondly like legal trouble.
Yeah.
This will be like an imprint on your whole life. Sure, I think potentially after being in jail, faking a prank here and there in the future wouldn't be too bad of an idea.
So
That's a problem.
how has content creators changed over the years for me? Because for you, sorry. So because when I've seen it all, that was sort of like that was the first people blowing up on YouTube was doing all the pranks. But now you got people doing all kinds of different types of content. You got Casey Neistat crushing it, Mr. Beast. How have you sort of seen it? So for the people, I guess, watching this right now that are looking at you, going, "Fuck, he's created an amazing life for himself by just creating content." How have you sort of seen it change? What's hot now? What's working now?
I'll tell you one thing. The only reason I've been able to do this for 10 years full time is because I've constantly pivoted at the right moments. So the reason why, like, it was funny because last year I was going through the people I subscribed to on YouTube from like day one back in 2013, 2014. And I counted literally about 70% of those people, no matter how many followers they had, subscribers, you name it, tens of millions, they're all gone. 60%, 70%. And you get to a point in social media where it's like, okay, like my life is now online. I'm doing all these things as a career. So what do I do next? And if you're not smart about it, you're going to over exhaust your audience in one niche without pivoting at the right time. Another example is this. People say to themselves, oh, I've been known for, say, pranks, or I've been known for this one type of content for so long. I want people to know that I'm actually a person and that I have real feelings, real life, this and that. So I'm going to do some family vlogging. Then what happens? You start vlogging your kids. Your relationship with your kids becomes all about your business and your work. And you start having personal life problems where you go, you know what? Social media is just fake. Like there's no point me actually trying to continue to do this where it's ruining my family life, my personal relationships. Look at Austin McBroom, the Ace Family guy. His whole life is online and his kids are suffering from it because he's out there so caught up in this world where now he's cheating on his wife. He's literally like almost fabricating his family for views. So now he's not even got a proper relationship with his kids because of YouTube. So it's like you get to a point in social media where you're so fed up with like being known for one thing that all you want to do is kind of show people that you're actually human. But having said that, a lot of people go down the wrong track of doing that.
So how have you pivoted over the last few years? So we were just talking, you said the last couple of years you've sort of taken a big brand change, or how have you talked to us throughout? You said you've been good at pivoting. What's it involved?
Yeah, so one thing no one besides me will tell you honestly is that no matter who you are, no matter how popping you are, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many fans mob you on the street every single day, you will reach a point 5, maybe 2, 3, 5 years down the track where you become so-called irrelevant. And it's what you do in those situations that really determines your future. So when I first started social media, I was like one of the only few guys in Australia doing these pranks, right? So I was loved, respected, adored. I'd get mobbed in the street, you name it. Like I was living that celebrity lifestyle, you could say, to an extent. And what happens when you feel that and you feel almost like people are treating you like you're God, you start viewing the world in a different way. And so then when that's a normality for you for so many years, like it was for me, and then you start noticing that people, don't really care about you anymore, or people are sick of your stuff, or people don't really, want photos with you anymore, or they just see you as a normal person. It's at that moment you have to really check yourself and say, hey, was I doing this for the wrong reason in the first place? Or do I have another identity that's more strong apart from the fame? So when this happened to me, when I became, you could say, irrelevant, or whatever you want to call it, in 2021 or so, I didn't care, bro. Like, I didn't care because I had another foundation that was so much more important to me than people knowing who I was, which, is partly to do with my faith in God, which I didn't have before this. So to answer your question, the reason I was able to pivot was because firstly, I was able to get to a point where I didn't sort of have my identity fixed in popularity. And then secondly, when I felt the audience sort of get sick of something over time, I'd pivot into something else quickly. And so I've probably pivoted like 4 times, you could say. And that's the key to it, really. And that's why, you don't find many people that have been able to do this for 10 years like I have.
Yeah. So my whole background is like I study human beings. Like I love to know why people do the things they do. So, and what I worry about, not really worry. It's like I'm up at night worrying about it. But what I'm aware of is younger people getting started in content now. Like we grew up in a generation where we have that. I think our generation is the coolest because we grew up without it. We grew up in the be home when the streetlights come on. And then we also grew up in the era of, a Nokia 3310 to an iPhone and content, social media. We're like, fuck, this is cool. All these new people are growing up with just TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all these things. And they're already getting started with attaching their self-worth to followers and views and all these sorts of things. Because I definitely went through a similar thing of like when I had like I built a network marketing business a long time ago and I killed it in that industry. So whenever I'd be at any of those events, I was like, people would come and get all the photos and all the shit. Yep. But then I'd go outside and it was normal, right? So I developed the humility through that, where it's like, to some people, it's like this big thing and some people it's not. So I had to develop within that. Nothing externally is an attachment to my own self-worth. I have to develop it. So what's your advice, I guess, to young content creators now or anyone creating it? How do we build this as an actual business versus it's our own identity and revert, so we don't go down like a hole of...
Such a good question, man. I think the key is to just not get overconsumed and like overexcited by the views and the followers, because there is something called the broke influencer syndrome, where someone can have millions of followers. I know people that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million followers on TikTok and they're broke because they haven't known that views and followers don't equate to revenue necessarily. So a big thing that I'm an advocate of is it's really hard, right? Because when you build a brand and you say do like a certain genre of content that just hits, right? That genre could be, I don't know, like slapping people with a fish. Where's that going to get you? But then what happens is you see a video where you've just added like 100 videos, right, of you doing all these different things. The one where you slap some guy in public with a fish goes viral. You think, all right, done. I'm going to double down on this. Now, the smart person would say, okay, cool. So this is actually like somewhere where people, for some reason, have this weird interest fetish in. I don't know what it is, right? So what I'm going to do is, while, using business terminology and strategy, double down on what's working, but then create something out of it where maybe you sell your own fish or something. But having the awareness that the hype will only last so long. I have a friend who went super viral on TikTok, right? And I said to him, bro, like, your content is funny, but it's not marketable. So you have to really double down right now while you're relevant, right now while you're hot, trending, and sell something off the bat, because you can literally, potentially, it's social media, but like anything can happen, retire off the money you make from like one trend, literally.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, maybe. I'm like, just do this. And he never did it. And now, he's struggling for money. So it's like people that see the views and see the followers, they're going to double down on whatever it is, but they don't have that business mindset. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't either back then. I had no idea, but I was lucky because I was already on platforms that were monetizable like Facebook and YouTube. So I had a revenue stream instead of just TikTok views. So I guess my advice would be like, don't get carried away thinking that you got 1 million views on a video, that it means something, because it doesn't unless you're actually smart about it. And also don't have your self-worth in views either, because you'd rather have 1,000 true followers that will actually support you in what you do and, consume your content and buy your stuff that you sell, than millions of followers that don't care about you.
Yeah. Yeah. So how I look at all of my stuff is I literally sit down with my team every single week, and my team, we look at everything just as data, and we're all so emotionally detached from it. And the other day, in fact, I was sitting with my social media manager, and I said to her, I go, cut this clip from this podcast, put that out. And she's like, oh, but are you sure? I said, yes, I'm fucking sure. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, but you might get hate on it. I said, that's why I want it out. Yeah. It's going to get fucking views. I'm like, it's going to end. It went well. And because I'm like, you're emotional about it. Stop being emotional about it. A random person's comment means nothing about me. Our game here is growing all our social media. That's it. Like we just want to increase it. So we sort of look at everything objectively, and we have it all on KPIs. We're like, what did we grow this week? What's trending? What's working? That video popped off. We got more views on that than other ones. Then instead of being like, oh yeah, we don't ever celebrate it. We'll just look at how come. Why did it perform? And we're analyzing everything. just to try and recreate it and do better. And even like we're about to hit 100K followers on Instagram. And every time we look at it, we're just like, fuck yeah, like more. And I know the celebration for it will be like, yay, someone will probably post in chat. We did it. Cool. Okay. Next spot, 150. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's and we also know, because all the content we put out, our audience is a direct reflection of the impact we're having as well. So the thing that we put out is impact. So it feels really good. But in the early days, it was like, we'd put out content. I'd be like, oh, I'm getting attention.
Yep.
But then I think it's driven from insecurities, you know? So what did you learn? Because I know you had an interesting journey. You went through some trials and tribulations and found out a lot of shit about yourself. What were the biggest, I guess, what was the moment for you where you first realized that creating content in this world was some sort of a problem for you?
I mean, it's been like a constant problem, from the fact that as a content creator, people look at you in sort of one light, you could say. So whatever you're known for me, it was comedy. I used to go out, you know, in public, and people would literally start filming me without me even wanting to be filmed, and tell me to say a joke or to do a dance, almost like I was a jukebox. So then I remember there was one situation, and it's funny. Like, it was funny at the time, and it is funny now. I'm not complaining about it at all. But there was this one time we were at the Star City casino a couple of years back, and I just remember, like, I walked through the casino, and this group of guys just started like circling me, surrounding me, and just started filming me. And they go, "Oh, hey, it's Jamie Zhu. Oi, bro, do a dance, do something funny, do something." So my persona was always laid in that sort of realm of like, I'm the funny guy. And so, in order to like sort of get out of that, and I guess how I sort of like worked around that, and sort of, to answer your question, like found how I was able to sort of be myself more, and get out of that sort of paradigm shift, get out of that way of thinking, was funny you asked me now. It's actually only been sort of recently, man, because there's so much censorship now in social media.
Yeah.
And people can't, you know, go against anything that, you know, certain agendas are talking about. You saw through COVID, it was the time where the world just shut down on every opinion besides the narrative they wanted to portray. And what I found was, during that time was a perfect opportunity for the people that actually wanted to speak up against what was happening, against, you know, tyrannical measures and whatnot, to have a voice. But then you slowly started to see social media outlets clamp down on these people. As an example, I wasn't vocal about what I thought about the whole thing, like lockdowns and vaccines and that, but I did post a Instagram story one time of a protest in Melbourne against, you know, vaccine mandates. And from that one story, I lost my partnership with Facebook and Instagram.
What?
So after that, it became almost like a dog-eat-dog sort of mentality, where you were like, you know what, if I want to even survive and still have a platform, I can't speak out. And so
They control you like that, right? Because they just cut off your income.
Bro, they can literally just like delete your page overnight with no reason at all.
So Meta were paying you, they just paid like a content packer or some shit? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, so Meta and YouTube pay the same way for views. I'm not saying I lost my Facebook or Meta account, but I'm saying my partnership with them, from the people that work directly there. They didn't want anything to do with me anymore because I said one thing. In fact, I didn't even say anything.
You just showed
I just go, everyone should wake up. And that's all I did. And so then I started like emailing them, being like, hey, when are we catching up? Nothing, bro. I was like the poster boy at Facebook for 2 years.
Wow.
I used to literally get asked to host creator days at Facebook HQ in Sydney. I used to also like, you know, tell them who to invite to certain events, Facebook and Instagram events. And then from that one thing, they just cut me off. So it was really hard after that, because everyone was like, you know what, like if we speak out against anything or even have an opinion that's different from the narrative at play in the media, we're going to get cancelled, which means no career, no business, and no income. So it's funny that you asked me this question now, because as I said to you before, during this time, I really had to look inwards, and I went through some crazy stuff as well, but I really had to look inwards and find myself and who I was. And that's when, you know, I found God. And this is something I'm very passionate about, obviously not pushy about it, but just I share my experiences and my thoughts about how, you know, finding God's helped me in my life. And so only the other day, I was like, you know what, like I'm just sick of being silent, bro. Like I'm sick of having this massive platform. I have, 10 million people that I can help, inspire and transform their lives. And I'm not saying I'm going to be some religious nutcase about it, but at least share my story and my experiences of what's helped me. And we all know, everyone watching this podcast, including yourself, you know this world's messed up right now. And there's no way for you to speak out unless you just take the leap and just go against, essentially what the platforms want you to do, which is what I've started to do only 2 days ago. So
2 days. It's like, one of the first pods.
It's fresh. Yeah. It's fresh. I'm just trying to navigate myself around it, but it's like, it's hard, bro. It's hard. It's hard. But yeah.
I've even seen, have you seen this shit happen with Ryan Garcia at the moment?
Yeah.
What do you think about all that?
I know too much, bro.
Can we talk about it here or can we talk about it?
All I'll say is this. Whatever he's saying, the media will portray him as having mental health issues.
Yeah.
The media will portray him as being a psychopath. He's going through some weird phase in his life where he's like not with it. He needs to be put on medication. You always know when the media say that about someone.
Like everybody, Kanye, Michael Jackson.
Correct. You know whenever the media says that about someone that's telling them facts that I know are true, personally, that they're trying to be silenced for a reason. Bro, come on. Like Jeffrey Epstein and shit. Like they're all out in the universe. Everyone knows, right?
Yeah.
And it's hidden in plain sight. They say things like Usher. He just got nominated for an award, and he goes, "Thank you to the devil for bringing me this award." Oh, sorry, my tongue slips. Bro, they know what they're doing. Predictive programming. Like I could go on and on about this, but it's a risky subject. But yeah, to answer your question, Ryan Garcia isn't crazy, bro.
Yeah, it's hectic shit, right? Because he's big on his faith and stuff, Ryan Garcia, right? He's real big on it. Then literally just this last week or whatever, he went through all this crazy shit, talking with Andrew Tate online. And did you see the video? Then he disappeared and comes back like it was a
I saw
like a MK Ultra thing happened to him
or something. Yeah.
And he's like, guys, I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm only gonna be talking about boxing now.
Yeah,
most wild shit. We'll talk about it off, hey?
Yeah. Look, it's you got to be smart, bro. Like, how far do you want to go with it? For me, that's that sort of stuff. Like, that's like dangerous, bro. Like straight out, like, dangerous stuff. But everything else you can talk about. Actually, no, you can't because they'll just deplatform you. But it's one of those things. Like, this is the thing, right? The people that actually have the balls to just say what everyone's thinking are the ones that will win at the end of the day, because having a social media following and a brand isn't just about you being popular with everyone. And that's what I was. I'll be completely honest with you. I went through a few years recently where I was trying to please everyone. Oh, I can't say this. Oh, I can't say that because this person won't like me or this brand won't work with me. But bro, in doing that, in being like lukewarm about my beliefs and everything, I was detracting people from me because there's no interest. Like, who cares? Like, you're just one of those other bots on social media trying to please everyone. And then the more, brands I worked with and the more like things I was able to do in like the financial realm was almost swaying me away from building something of my own, which building a core audience from being bold is much more monetizable than being just like some average bloke like Logan Paul, trying to please everyone and just fit the narrative. Because look what's happened to him. No one respects him anymore. Yeah. So it's like, bro, 2024 is one of those times where on social media, you're either like one side or the other. Like there's no in between anymore.
What's up, Dream Nation? Have you ever wondered how far ahead your life would have already been if you had got access to this type of content at a younger age? Look, this is why I need your help. I'm trying to build the #1 personal development platform out there to teach you guys the tips, tricks, and attitude of what it takes to live your dream life and to bring the type of education that we all wish we had in school. This show only grows by word of mouth and new subscribers, so it would mean the world to me if you could smash that subscribe button right now, leave us a 5-star written review or drop a comment below and share this episode with a friend. I would be forever grateful. All right, now let's get back into this episode. Cool. So you're saying, so 2024 is an interesting time. And I was telling my girlfriend actually this the other day, I'm like, I don't know if the world has become even more crazy, because if you look back last 100 years, the world's always been fucking crazy. But, or is it just more heightened now because a lot more people have a voice? Because you got people with podcasts like Joe Rogan, you got all these people that are actually bringing in people, and TikTok's very uncensored. And then there's other platforms now that are uncensored. And I think, has the world gotten more chaotic, or is there more just platforms out there for people to actually say what the fuck they want? I don't know, but what you're saying, like, it's about being on one side or the other. Like, for the creator right now choosing that, Like how do they sort of determine where they position themselves?
It's hard. I'm not saying you can't be in between. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm more so saying that if you want to build a really strong brand, and look, there's so many ways. Like if you do makeup, like there's no real, side that you have to be on. I'm just saying that like you look at people. Okay, this is a question for you. Why do you think people like Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, even Spanion have gotten so big and so popular and have such a loyal audience compared to some other person that doesn't really speak their mind as freely? It's because what they're saying is literally what most people are thinking, but no one has the balls to say it.
Yeah.
So the reason I say you have to sort of choose what, I don't even like saying sides, because back in the day you didn't have to be on a side. But in the world that we live in now, it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to literally just like be silent and just think things and not say them because of the fear of being deplatformed or being cancelled or whatever it is? Or are you going to have the balls to actually say it? And then from that, you will actually reap the rewards of saying it by building a core audience. So it's hard, man. I don't know the answer. You can do anything, but for me, bro, doing this for 10 years, I'm just like, I'm kind of just sick of being in the middle, if I'm honest. Like, I'm just sick of it. And I want to use my platform for a good purpose. I know that I can help so many people and raise awareness for things that I know are going on. And it's like, am I going to, if I don't do this, I'm going to die one day regretting it.
Yeah. So what have you learned? Because we look at if we look at Nelk Boys, right? I was watching those guys since they had like a couple 100K or something, and their videos were so shit, and they were just funny. And then they've now built this thing. There was like in about a year or so period, they built this into a proper like company, brand, movement. Like it's so huge, and they're not just creating content anymore. What do we need to focus on as content creators? Because I know it's not just creating content. So, because what you were talking about before, it's like when you become irrelevant, because Nelk Boys have never become irrelevant. They've even stopped pranks, right? But they're still so fucking relevant.
Yep.
Because from what I see, they've actually built a massive brand. They have a strong connection with the audience versus just content. So, I just want to know, like, from everything you've done, your side, what else is there that most people might be missing when they think about creating content? It's just content, but I know it's so much more. What else are you sort of focusing on to brand yourself and package yourself as so much more than just making videos?
Yeah. So Nelk were never just like a prank group. I think they were, but you have to understand that like as humans, we're emotional beings. So when we watch a video, you have to have some sort of emotion sparked. And so I think the case with Nelk, and similar to myself, although they did a much better job than me at branding and stuff like that, different path obviously than I am. But the reason why people want to watch you in the first place and actually are emotionally invested in you is because when they watch your content, you spark an emotion in them, whether it's laughter, whether it's, inspiration, whether it's happiness, whatever it is. You can't make a video without sparking an emotion in a viewer because your video will go nowhere. So the first thing they did was bang on. And then what they did was they leveraged that into almost like a culture. So they knew their pillars, right? Their pillars were definitely comedy, the boys, crazy stuff, and just going against the grain. So what you can do is you can still have the same pillars and then delve into a different field, like the frat culture that they've sort of helped build in the US and that sort of thing, while keeping the same brand integrity as they had at the start. And I think that's where they went right. They stuck to who they truly were, which is just not caring. And through doing that, now they're able to kind of like reinforce that into the culture they've produced, whether you like it or not. And that's why they're respected by other people, because you don't respect people if they do what everyone else is doing. In the social media world right now, you have to understand that it's so oversaturated. Like no one bats an eyelid now if they see like a TikToker in the street. Everyone's the same. So like if nothing's of value anymore because it's hard to attain, then it's invaluable. So like if you saw like, now it's like, oh, I got 1 million followers on TikTok. Oh, cool. Cool. Like what makes you different from like every second person out there now? So what is it that you're going to do that makes you different and makes you actually, relevant to people, but also have some sort of like change of angle compared to the rest of the crowd?
What makes a good piece of content?
you don't have to really like guess anymore, man. It's like the frameworks are there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. All you have to do is put your little spin on it. There's a great concept called remixing, where what you do is you find two, let's say you're a guy that likes soccer and, I don't know, boxing. Oh, no, that's a bad example. Like soccer and painting. Let's say your two hobbies, right? What you do is you say, all right, cool. I'm going to try and find like the best soccer videos that have not just like that I've enjoyed, but have performed the best. You go on TikTok, you go filter, select by most views. Select by most likes in the last 60 days or even, of all time. Click OK. It will give you the top soccer videos on TikTok that have performed with the highest amount of likes, right? You pick 5 of them. You're like, all right, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These have all performed well. I don't know why, but I'll find out later, right? Put them to the side. Oh, I also like painting. Let's type in painting on TikTok. Filter, most liked in the last 60 days, whatever. Okay. You take 5 painting videos that have all performed. Then what you do is you have these 2 things, and all you have to do is put them together somehow. It's called remixing, and then it becomes unique and your own. So you don't have to guess anymore. You can just literally, they say, what is it?
Steal like an artist?
Yes, correct. Steal like an artist. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying what works, and try and figure out why it works. Okay, how did I emotionally feel when I watch this? Why did I stop scrolling? Why would people have stopped scrolling on their feed to watch this? What's the hook? How's the storytelling? It was a promise at the start and a payoff at the end. All these certain things create a viral video.
What do you think about TikTok at the moment? It looks like, it might go down. I don't think it's going to go down. What do you think is going to happen? They're trying to do a deal with America. It's like, that's why it's funny. It's like America are like, oh, we don't like this platform because essentially it's not owned by us. And you guys are a little uncensored. We're going to ban you or we can buy you.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I think that like TikTok has almost gotten to the point where, although there are guidelines and like there are rules and TikTok is a platform where you can violate a rule easier than any other platform. TikTok and YouTube, you could say. Facebook's actually the most lenient, ironically. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a weird one. All I'll say is this, like, if I lost my TikTok tomorrow, well, guess what? The attention has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
People that say work 9 to 5, let's say they have 2 hours a day to go on social media and 1 hour was equated to TikTok. That 1 hour is still going to be there for them, but it's just going to shift somewhere else. So my theory is potentially either Instagram Reels will start popping off, even Facebook Reels, or a new platform will just come out, or even Snapchat. But like the attention has to go somewhere. So as long as you're like on the ball, and this is one thing I'll say as well, the reason I've actually been able to last 10 years in social media full time is because I've always jumped on the new platform straight away. I don't care if it collapsed a week later after launching, but I'll always take the risk of jumping on something first if it makes sense. An example is, Facebook. So I had a Facebook account within a couple weeks or even months, within a couple weeks of Facebook videos being allowed. I then was on Instagram day one of when videos got allowed on Instagram. I was on TikTok day one of TikTok. Like, it's so important to be first in the market because then you can dictate where the market goes through your own content. So like, Kick right now, for example, that's actually one thing I'm slacking on. Kick is a massive one.
Is that just live stream?
I think it's just live stream, to my understanding, yeah. Or even Rumble, like Rumble, is a good one as well.
Yeah, and yeah, I was almost gonna buy shares in Rumble.
Wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah, I should look at it again, but because that's like Andrew Tate, everyone's gone to that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think he's back in jail right now.
Yeah, he got arrested, but then he got let out apparently.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So before we start this, I'll ask you about the income you're creating from social media and stuff. So I want to talk about this. You look at some of these biggest people in the world. We're talking about, James Smith, Chris Williamson. They just created this new tonic brand. Logan Paul, Prime, Mr. Beast. Like, Mr. Beast has just got offered over $1 billion for his channels, right? 24 years old or something.
Yep.
What do you sort of think of this whole space of the rise of the entrepreneur, the rise of the content creator, the rise of the personal brand, using this for actually like bigger deals? Have you got anything like that in the works, or what? I just want to know kind of what you think's happening inside the space.
Yeah, I do have some stuff in the works actually. And this is something I wish I did like many years ago. If I was more business savvy back in the day. I think that you have to understand this. Like personal branding in 2024 is so important because no one cares about your paper resume anymore. No one cares if you come in with a CV. Oh, I used to work at Macca's 5 years ago. Like no one even looks at that. When I personally hire, all I want to see is their social media. Yeah. So people have to view Instagram as their resume in 2024 because without anything visual or without me having an understanding of who you are and what talents that you bring to the table, I don't care. I recently advertised for an editing position on Seek and I got, I don't know, like 220 applicants. But bro, they're all the same. They're all the same people. Hey, my name's this. I'd love to work with you. Here's my resume. Resume typed out on like Microsoft Word. Oh, I used to work at the coffee club 2 years ago as a barista. I'm like, okay, cool. I also used to work for my dad's gardening company. I'm like, why do I care? I don't care. I want to see you say, hey, like no resume. Here's my Instagram. I've done all this work relevant to the position. There you go. Another thing is, sorry, it's going on a different tangent, but I'll say it anyway. When I like look to hire people, especially in Australia with the tall poppy syndrome, the lazy mentality of work, no one understands that like doing stuff for free at the very beginning will get you a foot in the door.
Yeah. That's
another tangent we can go down, but sort of, back into what we're speaking about. Personal branding is a must, man. Like you have to invest into it because if you don't, just like AI, unfortunately, whether it's Mark of the Beast or whether it's going to ruin society and turn us into robots, like what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? You got to sort of like go with it.
Yeah. I do want to pivot and talk more about, like, I want to talk about the attitude because this whole podcast is mostly like personal development, mindset, business, entrepreneurship. So this is really relevant because this is such a huge part of business. Like another company I own is a personal branding agency because it's so fucking big, helping people grow their personal brands. I want to talk about let's talk about that opportunity right now of how much of an opportunity it is right now for people to actually get a foot in the door by actually doing things for free. Like what have you done? Like what are some things you've done? Like have you got some sort of story of like, I fucking did this for so long and I got this. Have you got anything like this?
Yeah, I do actually. So, two things. The first thing is when I started doing social media content in 2014, I did not get paid a single cent, bro, for like 2.5, maybe even 3 years. And the free labor that I was doing was creating high quality content where I knew the reward would come eventually. And by doing that and sticking it out and being open-minded to new platforms coming out like Facebook, I was able to do something. But the second thing I'll say is this. Actually, you mentioned him before. Jackson O'Doherty, who's a friend of mine, him and I were introduced to each other by a friend back in 2015. And I remember Jackson was one of the first guys in Australia to get really big on Facebook. And in fact, he was the person that introduced me to the idea of Facebook videos in the first place. He goes, hey, bro, I love your stuff. I'd love to do some, videos together. You should jump on Facebook. I was like, Facebook? What do you mean Facebook? He's like, yeah, I've grown 50K followers in a month or so on Facebook. I was like, what? I was like, I've grown 9,000 subscribers on YouTube in 2 years. He goes, yeah, cool. And I go, you know what? Like I don't care about anything besides wanting to excel and learn and grow. And one of the first things I ever did was instead of like saying, hey, let's collab and give me a shout out, I actually helped film him and, do you know Chesbra?
No.
Ziz's brother. I helped film and edit their video for free just because why not?
Yeah.
And by doing that, I was able to sort of learn the tricks of the trade. I was able to see how they worked. I was able to learn off people that were actually doing what I wanted to do. And that is the key, bro. Like if you want to actually do something and not waste 10 years of your life trying to guess and just trying to, dilly-dally around, how do I do this, and take 5-10 people's advice, just find someone that has actually done it. Find the person who's in a position where you want to be and say, hey, I love your stuff, and show that you actually know something about them. Don't just say, oh, hey, love your videos, and then get their name wrong. Like say, hey, I love this video you did. I love this video you did. I want to emulate what you do. I want to be in the field. Let me work for you for free for a month. Don't pay me a single cent. I'll work my ass off. And then at the end of the month, you can hire me if you want. Bro, if someone said that to me,
yeah,
you're in. You're in. Why would I choose any one of those 220 people that applied for my advertisement on Seek when I can just go with this guy? Like, it just makes sense. But in Australia, bro, like, just no one gets it, man. Like, I lived in LA, I've lived in other countries, and they get it over there. But here, we're so lazy because we have it so good, and and we don't understand the principles of hard work and free value.
Yeah, 100%. Perfect example is, so my business partner in Dojo Media, he came and attended one of my events because I run personal development events and shit, right? He came in as a student and he did like all of my events. And then he came to me after one of the events and he's like, dude, I love all of this shit's like so fucking good. Can I just come and film all of your events for you and cut content for you? You don't have to pay me because I just want to be around you. And I'm like, fuck yeah, bro. And he started filming those content. And then this went for about 3 months. Then we started a business together.
There you go.
Yeah. And now he's a business partner, right? And then he just spoke on the stage with me this weekend. So the first event he's spoken at now has been alongside Ty Lopez.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
But, you know, because he's like, hey, I'll come shoot for free.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Exactly. And my my right hand man, I always say, his name is Nick. He's like my videographer editor, right hand guy. He was like that at the beginning as well. He was just willing to go so above and beyond what it actually, like what the job description was, that now he's like the only staff member I haven't fired. Because like, I'm not saying I've had bad stuff in the past. Some have been amazing, but some have been bad. But for him, the reason why, you know, he's gone from, I think he started working for me at 21, 22, where all his mates were working at Macca's and KFC, and now all of a sudden jumping in the deep end where he's doing videos with, you know, Simon Beard from Culture Kings, or he's traveling to Saudi Arabia with me, or he's meeting these high level people and in the field of like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. It's because he was smart. He didn't just be like, oh, you know what, like this guy, 7.5 hours a day, yep, done, I'll just do that. Nah, bro, like he stayed back 8, 9, 10 p.m. sometimes without asking for $1. And now, as you said, like we're in the process of building a new business together as well. But it's like, why is that so hard to fathom? Like, less than 1% of people get that.
Yeah.
Like, Australians are just so lazy. That's all I can say. Like,
Yeah.
That's all I can equate it to.
Dude, I want to hear the story. So when I was doing my research on you, I saw, so throughout your whole journey, you sort of went through some crazy shit. You were, you know, addicted to picking up heaps of girls. You had this fame sort of hit you. You got all this attention. You went through some crazy spiritual stuff and a wild journey. Can you sum this up for us just so these people know what? I know it's a long story, but
It's a long story.
I guess what led you to take us off from this whole spiritual thing, that the demonic stuff, this stuff that happened in your life?
Yeah, so I'll try to condense. It's a 3.5 hour story.
Yeah.
But yeah. So basically, long story short, I was atheist my whole life. I believed in like the universe and stuff like that. Yeah, I always knew there was a spiritual world out there. And I was always going for like healing and stuff because I always had OCD. I always had really bad sort of depression, anxiety, and all those sorts of things. And I was always trying to find healing. And so I'd go to these practitioners that would sort of do like this spiritual breath work and then this like energy healing and crystals and all these sorts of things. But in doing this, because I was still like a broken person, as many of us are, I was very sucked into the world of, you know, sleeping around, picking up girls, drinking, partying, doing drugs, you name it. And I think being in this industry magnified all that to the point where, yeah, like I was pretty far into it, pretty far gone, and I couldn't see a way out. And so I was always going for healing, and I went to more people, and they're like, oh, do this astral projecting, or just do magic mushrooms, or the universe this, universe that. And I was doing all this, but I found that I'd feel okay for the first couple of hours or few days, but then I'd go back to square one. And I go, this just doesn't make sense. Like, why have I spent thousands of dollars on this healing when nothing's happening? And it wasn't until I got introduced to someone called a Reiki healer back in 2021 by this girl I was seeing actually. And bro, like going to this woman, this Reiki healing woman, like completely like ruined my life. And it's been 3 years and you could say I'm still damaged from it, like physically. I'll tell you why. It's because basically in Reiki, there was a Japanese man in the early 1900s called Makai Usui, and he founded Reiki. And what happened was he was inspired by Jesus healing people, and he wanted powers for himself. And so he went onto the top of a very spiritually demonic mountain in Japan and blackmailed the universe to give him powers to also go around and heal. And in in the Bible, I forgot where it is. I think it's in Matthew or Ephesians. It talks about how Satan, which I never believed in, by the way, before this, disguises himself as an angel of light. And so this Japanese guy's on the mountain, and all of a sudden, he's blackmailing the universe, saying, if you don't give me these powers, I'm going to starve to death. And so all of a sudden, on one of his last days of being on this hunger strike, he got struck by a white strike of lightning. It's like, oh, I've got these hands to heal people. So then he goes around Japan and he starts creating this Eastern philosophy of natural healing modality called Reiki healing. And so this then infiltrated the West through Hawaii first and then into America and so forth. And people basically were sort of saying that they were being healed by this Reiki. But what happened was something that I never expected. And me knowing all this stuff sort of before, I understood sort of where it came from, but I didn't understand that if you don't direct your intention and your focus in any spiritual form on God alone, then you're basically opening yourself up to anything out there. And as I said, I was the biggest atheist. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. Like, if I saw like Jesus preachers on the street, I used to like curse them. I used to hate seeing it, bro. Hate it. And I was the last person to ever like transform my life to become a Christian or even, part of faith in general. So anyway, I went to this woman. She just literally simply like waved her hands around me for about 45 minutes and just sort of touched my head in these areas. And bro, like the damage that happened after was like, you would just never ever in a million years believe it. Every area she touched, I had problems. So the first thing that started happening, I started hearing these voices in my head. Kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself, jump off the balcony. Like just all this weird stuff I've never thought of in my life. Second thing that happened, I started getting woken up by like nighttime stabbing pains in my heart and something like sitting on my chest and suffocating me and all this stuff. I then developed a heart problem called atrial fibrillation, which at my age you shouldn't have. I'm 30. I was 27 at the time. And then I developed a digestion problem where I couldn't digest food properly. And then I also started having very bad sexual problems as well. And just like when I would have these like weird things come to my head, which wasn't me, it was something else. And I'd like, I don't want to think about that. I'd be like literally attacked by something, like stabbed in pain by something. And so that was the most like traumatic thing I've been through ever. And so, yeah, I tried to take my own life during the time. I went through this whole year in 2021 where I just lost the plot, bro. Like I went to all these practitioners. No one knew what was wrong. Long story short, I then found out that these new age practices where you do use these crystals or these universal healing tactics, there's a very high chance that all of them are very demonic. And I'll tell you why. It's because Reiki healing in itself, the way that a Reiki master, who's the practitioner, gets initiated is through about 3 different levels. And what they have to do is they have to establish a spiritual connection to a Reiki angel. And these Reiki angels, according to the Bible and many other religious scriptures, are actually demons. And so when this person is connecting to these spiritual beings, the spiritual beings are guiding them onto what to do. So what energy points to open up on the person. And so what she was doing was she was listening to the angels, which are demons, on what to open up to in my body for them to just enter me. And the fact that I had paid her and gave her permission to do it allowed them to do it. And so that's kind of what happened to me, bro. And so after, a year of experiencing all this and not knowing what to do, I found that it was demonic and I had to go through deliverance through a pastor, which is like exorcisms, and get rid of what was in me. And bro, like you should have seen, like, it's like what you see in the movies almost. Like I didn't believe any of it was real until it happened to me, and I got rid of everything, and here we are.
Fucking wild. And so yeah, I heard you talking about yesterday, like the exorcism or something, like your shirt set on fire or something.
Oh, that's a long story.
Yeah. So that was the entity or whatever. Some guy took it out of you and
yeah, as I said, it's a very long story. So without context, it won't make sense. But
yeah,
you could say I did one. Yeah, I had to do one sort of exorcism with not. This is before I found Christ, before I found the correct people to do it with. Mm-hmm. But I was going through an Indian astrologer actually, and I had to do one with him before I did it in the right way. And yeah, there was some bro, like you don't understand. Like
wild,
I thought I was living like a movie, bro. Like
yeah.
I thought I was in a nightmare.
Yeah.
But there were things like lighting on fire randomly. Like
yeah,
this guy was like being flown around the room by a t-shirt that had the demon in it. Like, bro, it's a long story. I'm gonna release a documentary one day.
This shit's hectic. Like when I lived in Bali, we moved into this because I'm so open to that whole space, and it makes a lot of sense when we understand everything's energy and polarity of the universe. We can't have good energy without a bad one.
Correct.
It has to be. We moved into this villa in Bali, and I got 2 dogs over there. You know how they say like animals pick up shit? Mm-hmm. We had this one bedroom that was just like the spare bedroom that they would never, ever, ever go in it. And in fact, like we'd go in, like sit on the bed, we'd like come in, and they would come to the door and run away. And we're like, and these dogs like clingy as fuck, right?
Yep.
And then one day we would pull them in, yes, you know, like pull them in, and they would hate it and run off. We're like, what the fuck? Then we had some of our friends come move in. They were like super spiritual. And they were like, there's something in this room. Okay, so we called our friend from up in Ubud. And he comes down. He's like an energy clearer. And no shit, he comes in. He's like, this is fucked. He's like, well, he didn't say that because Balinese. But he's like, this room's not good, right? And he did this whole clearing and done all this shit. And it was nuts. Curtains were moving. Doors were shaking. And after he did it, he just comes down. He's like, okay, it is good now. Wow. Thank you. And he leaves. Next minute, the dogs are sitting under the bed.
Wow.
The dogs are just chilling in there.
Wow.
Like it's fucking wild, right?
Wow.
It's an interesting thing.
Wow.
But before we kind of wrap up, I do want to ask, so through this whole, so now you've, you know, through that whole experience, you've found God, you've found, you know, you've become Christian now. You're also abstinent, is that true?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Whatever you call it.
Is that the word?
Abstinent.
Celibate. So how long has this been?
Look, from a guy that used to, you know, fornicate a lot to now going, I think it's been about 2 years now.
Damn.
Yeah.
And it's like full semen retention. Is that true?
Yeah. I'm not perfect, but yes. The longest streak I did was a whole year.
Bro, my mentor told me one time, go for 12 weeks after my last breakup. I thought he was having a joke with me. That was the longest I've ever been.
Wow. That's great, man.
2 years. So what are you waiting for? Is it the whole sort of, are you looking for a relationship now, or what is it?
Yeah. So I'm just waiting for marriage.
Yeah.
Because from how I used to live back in the day, bro, it's like I also, you know, realized that by sleeping around so much like I used to, I was also, there's a spiritual and an energetic exchange. So whoever you're sleeping with, you're going to have an energy, but also a demonic transfer if they have something in them. And I found it, you know, you wonder, like, if any people are watching this, like, okay, why do you feel weird after sleeping with this one person?
Yeah.
Why? It's because everything of them in the unseen world has gone into you. So for me, I don't want any of that stuff at all anymore. And I can see why, you know, waiting for marriage is actually a good thing, where you save your sexual energy and yourself for the right person. And that's not just for the person, but that's to build a life with that individual as well. So for me, bro, I'm just waiting for the one I'm going to marry one day. And until then, bro, I'm just going to stay celibate. That's
great, man. That's some discipline there, bro. So, man, this has been great. Good chat. Where can everybody find you on social media?
So it's just the same username. So Jamie Zhu with a ZHU. I have my own podcast now called Locker Room Chat Podcast. It's pretty easy.
Beauty. All right, mate. To wrap this up, final question. If you were to go back to your 18-year-old self and give him 30 seconds of advice, what would it be?
Ooh. Don't follow what society promotes.